to keep the funding sources going. I understand all that. But I think the ability to have a special town meeting in the fall, even if the vote is non-binding, but to do that, I think would be a very wise political idea for the committee to consider that and talk to the selectmen about that. I really do.
Well, that's why we put the surveys out, to give everybody the voice. People were able to leave their mailing addresses and or their names, contact number, and email so that it's authentic. We had most people do that. If anybody here filled out the survey?
But not to interrupt you, I've been involved in a lot of national surveys and some committees. If you get 20% back, you've done a great job.
Right.
So, with all due respect, I don't think the survey is going to make the voters feel that relaxed.
Right. To your point, there's 3,444 registered voters in the town of Tisbury. At town meeting, we get about 200 people. I don't know, John, do you know the number off the top of your head?
228 at the first night this year.
We've gotten almost that many surveys back. So to that, and I don't want to start because I completely hear what you're saying. I understand. We've committed to a process. I feel very confident that this committee is going to do the best they possibly can to represent the town. And make sure that, you know, the bottom line is the educational needs of the students. That's what we're talking about. I feel very confident that this committee is going to be thoughtful and representative, and we're going to have these, you know, we're thinking of every possible way when we kind of, I say, we push the pause button. When something doesn't feel right or we don't feel like we're ready, we stop and we say, all right, what do we do now? How do we reach out? How do we get feedback? How do we hear from people? Unfortunately, our school building committee meetings are not well attended by the public. I think we get maybe 1 or 2 people. That's an opportunity for people to come and be part of the process. If people want to be heard and they want to have discussions, there are opportunities. I understand people are busy. I know how many meetings people attend. But I truly feel, and I take responsibility because I'm the chair, that we will have heard the voice of people in these situations, and we've had a lot of them, as much as we would at a town meeting. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I just feel like, we're going to be in a very good situation, and I hear what everybody's saying, and I appreciate it because I know that you're saying what you're saying about the vote so that this project is successful, and we appreciate that support. We've made a decision. I hope that our process is something that people support and get involved in. We'll find out at the end if we made a mistake by not doing that. But I truly believe, and I feel like this committee has done due diligence in this process, and we will continue to do that. And we'll find out at the end if we didn't handle it properly or didn't make the right decision. But again, we hear you loud and clear. We really do. We've been through this with the feasibility study money. We had to go through a ballot vote.
And the second half goes back to one of your opening comments. Now we're back on this site.
Back on the existing site.
The existing
Okay,
site.
I just want to be clear. Yes, absolutely.
This is a relatively minor comment, but
Okay.
you mentioned the emergency services there in Danville. And as a longtime member of the fire department and involved in the process of that building going there, nowhere near as much as Chief Schilling was, we tried very hard to be very good neighbors to the school. And I think there's been zero issues with it. In fact, the students come over to visit the fire trucks, we take fire trucks over to the school. The ambulance is right there. It's been a very nice partnership.
Yeah, it has been.
We were discussing before about other options about sending kids out of school. Back when I was attending Tisbury School, they were removing the asbestos from the high school, and they rescheduled things so they actually had the high school attending the Tisbury School at that time. And I'm thinking that there's room up to high school and possibly arranging scheduling that we can do.
We're going to look at every option
To
possible.
be completely honest with you, the only discussion we've had is trailers. We have not discussed if this scenario were to happen, what would we do? So we have not had the discussion, but it doesn't mean we
The
won't.
superintendent and assistant superintendent attend the meetings, and there's definitely a discussion.
Right, right.
Okay.
So, I think the architect actually said that they were having the outreach, but you are not from here, and if you, Colleen is from here, John is from here, out of 4 of you, and actually you have to recognize that this is the group who are taking all the committees voluntarily, and you see these people everywhere, even in the annual town meeting. So don't treat us like we are just one of the many just different opinion groups. And I'm asking Colleen, do not create the PTO or other people, have one consolidated meetings for the public so that we can hear from the other groups. Like teachers, I heard them, and I was very relieved to see them. But I want them to be here to hear so that they don't only talk about what's best for their interest, they have to hear from us too so that they can have a balanced thinking. Otherwise, even though they have all the good intention, they are biased. This is what I'm talking about. This is why I was saying that where are the 17 voting members and the 19 members, only 5 of you, but nobody else saw this, so it's only from your word. It's not the same. And then number 2 is that John was actually presenting this last year in June in the Vision Council in library. And at the time, there are 30-some people actually showed up in the middle of the summer. And then you actually hit all other locations, and then you didn't actually hit the Vision Council as the outreach group. This is the voter, these are the taxpayers, these are the ones who live here year-round. And that we are not having any interfering agenda to enforce something. So nobody is showing the private interest, so that has to be actually heard. And then now, I was going to say, because I've been reading the agendas from the last year, and you guys chose the architects from the November and December, and they're having the design, the pause, and then start to meet in March. And these are not posted. And that's why I thought it's more than the one incident. And we couldn't hear it because it's not even posted and we could not hear it.
I'm not sure what you think.
March 14th and March 22nd and April 12th, these are posted. So that I'm only seeing from the next agenda to show the signing the previous minutes. That's why I was backtracking all these dates, and then they were meeting, and then some of the members didn't even know that they.
So your point is that you just want to.
So
make sure,
it's outreach. Outreach.
I just want to reiterate. You just want to make sure that the meetings are posted appropriately so that the community would be aware.
We could have participated from the beginning because it's not long ago. Now, it's actually you created a new website, so I see everything now, so I'll catch up to see everything, but other people are too busy, so they will not see absolutely everything until the next meeting.
That didn't get created.
Please?
That whole website, the committee is working very diligently to make sure that everything's transparent. So that website came through working with our office to make sure.
But that was out just recently. That was publicized just
understood.
recently. So let me finish it. What I'm saying is this: have the one consolidated meeting so that we can also see other concerns. That's my goal, not to fight. I'm just saying that from now on, how can you actually trust each other and then not to create any bias unnecessarily? Number 2 is that is this even legal to have a voting by the 17 members? Or because when you talk about town tax, town property, and you shouldn't really go to the meeting to see that whether we actually see that it's appropriate to have the 17 members voting for the rest of us. I want to see the legality of that. That's parallel to, nothing to do with what you're doing. Number 3 is that what's deadline, what's the required by the MSBA by the May 19th? Is it the site choosing just 2 or 3, or do you have to show the option 2, 3, option 5 all separately? Because this project manager, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but you said that there's a traffic study. I read this April 12th meeting. The meeting minutes says that the traffic study was requested by the Historic Society for the mental health site. I don't hear anything about the traffic study of the current location. So if you want to say it, don't say it broadly, say that it's just specified for the mental well. Then we'll take it that way. Then if you want to actually expand all the features in the using site, is it appropriate to spend all the $87,000 to study the current location with the expansion in mind? I don't know, but that has to be addressed very equally, not just mental well as if it's actually traffic study for everything.
Yeah, understood. We are going to try to take a vote. I think I said that earlier.
Go ahead, you were next, then I'll hit you.
One thing about the current school, you take one glance at it, you know it's a school. Very iconic building in this town. A lot of effort went into its construction when it was built. It's got those big, glorious windows. When you're in the school, you look either direction, through the stairwells, you can see natural light, and in the classrooms, you have the benefit of those big windows. So I'm probably not the only one in town who has an emotional attachment to the building and who appreciate that it looks like what it is. It's a school. That said, we're a small town with very interesting demographics and program needs with our school. I understand that completely. I can understand that that cafeteria was designed when a lot of kids went home for lunch. Nobody's going home for lunch anymore. Having so many kids go through that cafeteria creates all kinds of scheduling conflicts and problems. Like, I get it. That said, every new construction project we've had on the island that's public, including the fire station, has had massive problems. And we've had massive problems with really shoddy construction, so plumbing's had to be redone right away, windows have had to be redone right away, roofs have had to be redone right away. I think they tried to we almost had to pull the bond of the company that constructed the fire station because of problems, which scares, as a taxpayer, that scares the bejesus out of me. So as you, the committee, are looking at your best options, I am sure a lot of people are going to have those same questions, but how are we going to make sure that we don't build this beautifully designed thing that is not quality construction? And I would, whatever we do, I would really love it if we could have, whatever we end up with, could generate the same emotional responses in our town, because some of the other new schools on the island, I mean, they're, you pass the high school and you kind of go, huh, okay. I mean, it doesn't say I am a school. It doesn't say I am a center of this town. And I think we've been spoiled. We have that in our town.
So let me answer your first part of that question and take a little bit of your fear away. We're the owner's project manager. It's our job to not only make sure that the design is appropriate and the architect and engineers are doing their due diligence to make sure that they're going to do a wonderful job putting the school together. I've built a lot of projects on the island now successfully and with very little changes and recall on a lot of the projects. You didn't hire the right OPM and contractor that, unfortunately, through the procurement process the state has, to build some of those buildings that you've had problems with. I can tell you that much. There are so many guidelines and stipulations that we follow through to make sure the construction quality is really well. Our design review, we go through portions, not only do they do their due diligence on their design review with their consultant, we do an independent design review, and our comments are all articulated together and reconciled so that their drawings come out hopefully flawless. Will there be changes? Absolutely. Sometimes it's owner initiated, because until you go vertical, some of those changes occur. It's just the nature of the business of it. But I can tell you from an OPM's portion of it, we really do, we have a clerk in the works full-time from our firm on site during the duration of the construction, whether it's long hours or not.
I just wanted to add also that the state, and you probably haven't been through a project that allows this, but the state now allows two processes for procuring building big, large buildings. CM at risk is an option that allows you to forego the low bid.
Okay.
And they only allow that on projects that are
10 million or higher.
So you'd fit into that category, and that's one of the things we'll be discussing with the building committee.
And in addition to that, what we've done to even make it more successful is that we pre-qualify the subcontractors and the general contractors. Just doing that alone, and publicly I don't like saying it, but it got rid of a lot of the not so good contractors in that category, because all of the references and all of the projects that I've done over my 25 years career, we kind of know what contractors are really good and what subcontractors aren't so good. And we pre-qualify them based on their criteria, and there's a scoring sheet that we do it on. And those contractors are allowed to actually solicitate on the project. So we're going to eliminate a lot of the problems that you've had in the past.
You want to mention the project you've been involved in?
Yeah, so I'm doing the Martha's Vineyard Airport new fire station. I've done the West Tisbury Police Station. I've done the West Tisbury DPW. We did the West Tisbury Library. I did the Oak Bluffs Fire Station. We're doing the Oak Bluffs Town Hall right now.
So if you're familiar with any of those projects, you can reach out and talk to people and see if people are happy with how the project went and how it's being, afterwards, because I understand where that comes from.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd like to address your other comment about design. We actually toured several of the projects that I've been involved in designing, both renovation projects and new construction projects. And I hope, because design is very important to us, that the committee and the people that toured saw that those buildings were very cherished by the towns.
We went off island, we went to 5 schools that throughout teacher Peter in his former life too was involved in. We also, there's a project that they're both working on right now in New Bedford, the Hannigan School, which is very similar to the proposed size of the school that we would have here. We'll be following up there. We went during construction, we'll be following up in the fall and actually touring it and talking to people. And we've talked to the people who take us around, usually the principal, as some of these projects are 15 years ago, some are sooner, most of them are around 10, 15 years ago. We've been able to talk to the principals that are living in the building. We've been able to talk to the staff. What would you do differently? Were you happy with the follow-up afterwards? Did you have any problems? Did they take care of them? So we really have tried to address, we all have those concerns. And we are, as I said, I can't tell you how happy. We couldn't have picked a better OPM or an architect. I mean, I really feel like that. We are in such good hands with the MSBA. We just had a very positive experience so far. So I anticipate that continuing.
I just wanted to say, because I think that the committee is really trying to do the best job that they possibly can. And I went to the April 12th meeting? April 3rd,
Yeah.
where you had a morning meeting, you had a night meeting. I think that you really are trying to do the best job. It's a tough job. I think you are transparent. I just think, I just wanted to say that I feel like you are making every attempt to get the feedback from the town. And it's up to us to go to the school committee, the school building meetings, and go to more of these forums too. So I really felt like the last meeting was well attended. There was so much detail in what was going on with the project. We broke down into smaller groups. Lists were made and then presented, and it was, I just wanted to say that because I feel like it's a very passionate project. We all care so deeply, and it's such an important decision for our town on so many different levels. The school is the heart of our town. We're talking about some of our most precious community members, and it's so important to start them off right in the world by having such a great experience so that they become, so I just wanted to say that. So I just.
You asked, which would we prefer, to rank the addition and a renovation or a new building? How do we answer that question?
So there's a couple of caveats to that. One, a renovation addition would obviously have an impact on the site, and I'm just using that as an example, on the population in the school. So what impacts would that have? That's just a consideration to take.
I don't know what you mean with that.
So if the three questions, read the question now, and I can go with each one.
The addition and renovation to the existing school.
Yeah. So
the new building on the current school site, and the third one we're not considering. So
right. So out of the two, does it make, and it's the attachment to the building, and correct me if I'm wrong, if we keep the if in Carver, I live in Carver, so we had an existing building. It was the John Governor Carver School, and it ended up, we felt from the town, and I shouldn't say all of the town, but we had a majority of people say they were attached to the building. So we decided to go the route of a addition renovation to that school. It failed. The school vote failed. Because of the outreach program, which they're doing a much better diligence with, the majority of the residents wanted a new school. They felt it was too boxy, it wasn't going to configure, and the cost associated with doing that renovation was going to be too much money and impact the town too much. So the questions come down to, what's the attachment to the existing building? And then to make the program you need an addition. So what's your feeling on that? That's one portion of it. The second is, if the attack, and I'm not saying the sentiment portion of the school isn't important, because a lot of people attended that school, they have a love for that building, but when you have the opportunity to spend and develop and meet a program need of a new building that's going to last you 50 years, that's going to meet all of the school, the issue here is that it's all about the children here, and I get the community's input with the school, but it's meeting the program needs of these children. If you're able to do a brand new building to meet those program needs on that existing site, which one would you prefer? That's the answer to that question. Okay?
Can I just add to that, Paul, a little bit? I mean, I think we have to consider that we're designing a school for 50 years, but we're also talking about a school that's currently being used adequately and successfully. That's how old now? 90 years old?
Yeah.
80 years old?
It was
Very
designed for
creative.
forever.
So, but also that 80-year-old building was said to be about 78% sound.
Right.
So in 80 years, it's decreased not very much, really. And so I think we have to be careful saying like, oh, you know, a new building is going to be this great, wonderful new school. As a town, we have to think long-term about preservation of our history as a continuity piece.
Yeah.
And say, yeah, you can guarantee, you're saying, yeah, we'll build a new school for the last 50 years. But we already know we have a school that's lasted 80 years and is still 78% sound. I think from a design standpoint. And also it gets the cost. I think there's a greater chance for cost saving in a renovation. And I agree that there's a point in the design process where that becomes the Daedalus. Saying, well, you know what? We started with the idea that it was going to save money, but now we're not. And that's where I think out of those two options, you really decide to start with a renovation and addition. In the design process, you realize it's not worth saving.
Right.
But you don't know that until you go through that.
Well, I can tell you categorically, and I've done a lot of significant renovations. Renovations tend to cost more, just because of the nature of the building, the construction, as well as it was done back 80 years ago, the configuration of what the program needs now for more open space, swing space, on a structured building that has, you know, support columns, the structural engineer that to go in there, as well as it's built in 78% in really good shape, is structural integrity that may have to be tweaked on it, that might have that swing that you're talking about. So I think that exercise has to happen on a renovation addition, but the cost estimates to perform those services will have to articulate to the point where they can make a good educated decision on which direction to go.
And one more point on this, I'm going to adopt architecture, I'm an architect, so I can
Perfect.
The humans are much more flexible than buildings, and we can't be fooled into thinking we're going to design this flexible building. We're not. It's going to be an inflexible building because buildings are made out of solid objects and movable pieces like, you know, curtains like that doesn't really do it. So I think we have to understand that like education is going to be a flexible thing that's built on the flexibility of our students and not the building.
And to answer your question, you know, we're obviously looking for your personal feedback, whether you have any experience in construction or education or whatever it is. It'd be the same like if you went to town meeting. What do you base your decision on that night? Personal experience, personal preference. So that question, you know, it's kind of a hard thing to say. How do you answer that? Everybody might have a different way that they're going to answer it.
No, I understood that, but really, hearing you talk about it, it sounds like the only thing we can really weigh in on right now is, and that's what I meant, is whether or not we like the building or are attached to it, or we're looking forward to seeing something new. Cost, we have no idea. We can't evaluate what the
Well,
final
you can
product
because
is.
they
No, I mean, listen, the cost is swap, unless you get deep into it and you find out that it isn't. But I'm saying, the only thing that we can really, that I can understand, that we can really weigh in on is, do we like the way it looks, or do we?
personal
Well,
preference.
I think you can listen to your educators and their express preference for
Yeah.
the options.
Yeah, that's different.
I mean, they're the people who work in the building, and
Yeah.
they work with the children, and they know what they need and what works best, and we can listen to that before we make a decision about which
Right. And once we do get to the site option decision, we will continue having workshops and input for the design part. This won't stop. This is, you know, this is our goal right now, to get a site option, 1, 2, or 3. That doesn't mean that public input goes away. The design is just as important in the project as everything else. So there will continue to be workshops. I don't know what the schedule is, if we haven't been through that part of it, but this is going to be going on until we have that town vote, whenever that happens.
So we'll present a plan for all of these options to the MSBA. The building committee will select one. But that plan and the way it looks formally on the site may change during the next phase of design.
Right. And I think
it's just the option that's chosen, not
It's-
how it's the final configuration.
8 o'clock, I don't wanted to be here 2 hours. We have 3 hands up. Let's just let 3 people, I'm sorry, Dana, I didn't see your hand up. You haven't spoken at all yet, so I want to give you an opportunity. I just don't want to keep people here for hours and hours. We can always schedule another workshop if people want to continue this conversation. It's starting to get late, and I'm not sure what time we even have to leave this building by. Doesn't matter. Okay, so Dana, you have an opportunity.
I'll try to be brief. I do sit on the William Street Historic Commission here in town, which also is part of the Tisbury Historical. And so my feeling would be to try to preserve as much of the original building as possible. Doesn't mean the inside can't be destroyed to any degree. Something that I was really involved with a lot was in Boston, so they would be renovating downtown. I was working downtown in Boston, and I would watch like the State Street Bank going up, and what they would do is they would put up steel and then hold the whole facade together and then build this whole thing. So that's something that can be done with an old building, and so it could be retrofitted. How much it costs, I don't know. Nobody knows how much that is right now. Sometimes it's beneficial, because you can get much wider spaces inside and things like that. The other thing that I started thinking about, and I brought it up the other day at the PTO meeting, and it really was revealing, is that I said, wow, you know, this could almost, if they did it over at the Mansion Well, it could almost be like Milton Academy, and I saw these eyes, whoa, you know. But then I started thinking too, yeah, that would be great, but here in Vineyard Haven as well, because of the location and what it is that this building represents in the center of town, this could be an in-town campus as well. All you have to do is look at it in those eyes. Not that it's a school and a playground and it's, it's in this 5-acre area. And with that thought, I noticed, like John, whatever his name is, who bought the salmon-colored house, and for that, buildings like that can be bought around here and be part of satellites to this school and be renovated and stuff or worked on, so that you create a campus, create something that people are really proud of and happy with. And I don't know if that can be done in a town budget or, renovate. But I was thinking about Falmouth Academy that has 200 students right around it, and thinking, they run an old estate. What is wrong with trying to work with this and then also becoming a campus where you have satellite things close by, where kids can go, where they can go down to the park, or I think I had spoken to John and someone else that the playfield there could be a playfield behind the fire station if it works out, and so there are things that can be done. And so for me, I would prefer to keep the original building, or the look of the original building if there's a way of keeping that structure to work.
Yeah, a couple things. Back to the point of hiring guiding contractors on the fire station there, for example. They had, in their rush to try and meet deadlines and such, they started pouring the concrete floor before it was even finished, and it wasn't being set up. And they were halfway or 3/4 way through before they realized they weren't on grade. And so it's things like that our town always manages to choose the bottom of the barrel, no matter how hard we try.
So things improved quite a bit. So I mean, we do a lot of, we have our independent, surveys, testing agencies, all of that's preliminary done before any of that. We don't even allow the work ongoing until we're sure that.
And the MSBA is the entire process, so they will
Monthly visits, yeah.
and checking up on us, and believe me, if anything
We have to
is not,
report.
there's so many eyes on this one, and I don't think the fire station had anybody that was outside with a good MSBA watching the process. I'm not sure if they're familiar with that process. But the MSBA, I think they're not getting enough credit for what they're offering in this opportunity. They're not going to let that happen. They want to use their money to the best advantage of every person, and they don't want us to do they want us to be, what's the saying, the most cost-effective option for the that is educationally appropriate. And they mean that, and they remind us of that almost weekly.
The other thing that they do is they pay for the commissioning of the building at the end of the project. You know what commissioning is? It's hiring an independent contractor to come in and test all the systems to make sure they're working well. So it's testing
do like the aesthetics of the building, I like the brick look. I like the fact that it's 3 stories. If we need more space, I don't know, maybe a 4th floor is an option. The other thing. Okay, well,
And it's just the elevation differences, how the gym drops down. I mean, those are all things I think they're gonna take into consideration for the flow.
as far as the building being built to last forever, Ralph Dagger told me that that gym floor is quite literally built to last forever. It's basically a special type of plywood built on end, and that floor is supposedly about 6 inches thick. You can sand it down 10,000 times, and you'll still have that same floor there, so.
Well, that's great news. So we got you and then you.
Yeah, we really
One
want to
thing,
try to-
so my husband's in the building trades, and we go around when we travel, take pictures of buildings, and we've been touring college campuses and seeing what they've been doing with their old buildings with their kids, and paying attention to that, thinking of Tisbury. And one of the things he mentioned to me is that with a lot of the older buildings and older municipal buildings, they were built at a time when your big expense was materials, not labor. And so a lot of money went into materials. The marble stairs you see in some buildings, those materials that just last and last and last. And the Tisbury School, I think, was one reason it's 78% fine, is because it was built during a period where they were putting major money into materials. We now live in an age where what's really expensive is labor costs, so to keep a project within a budget, it's a different, I don't know what the differential is with material grade, but I know we're not building schools with marble stairs anymore, for example. You don't see that so much. And so with a new school, I guess I would be curious or would want to know if we totally start over with new construction, what we were going to do with the materials. And is the materials situation such that we could put all the money into it, but we could only afford to build something that would last 50 years? Or, like, maybe I'm not articulating that well, but like our current school, I think they really were designing for it to last long term, and the realities were such they could put money into high-grade
You don't
materials.
want to be forced into building a metal shed because you want to build.
Right, and like, would we even have the option to build something that would last longer than 50 years and keep within our budget, given that change in labor costs versus material
So
costs?
I think you could. I think that the examples that we toured are examples of new buildings that are solid brick buildings, solid masonry, some of them, very durable construction. One thing I will say about the Tisbury School, yes, it does look sturdy, but it's got a very light structural system inside the building. It's very light, and there's a lot of sound transmission between floors. And there's going to be significant structural, it's done all the time. You pointed out they do it in Boston all the time. It's done, it can be done. But I live in an old house, and everyone says, oh, they built it better, you know. I can tell you, they don't always. My house is not better built than a current house today. The standards are strong higher today for seismic and wind and all those things. This building would have that significant.
There's a lot of, you just gotta look at the building in its entirety and look at every aspect of it to see what makes the most sense and look for longevity. We're building longevity here. Whatever products we can, basically input into this building, they're gonna look at it.
I think the voters will care about
I've
that.
got to get these folks to the vote, because the last vote's at 8:30, I don't want to miss it. What I'm hearing from everybody is it may be beneficial, it would be beneficial to have another meeting in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Would everybody feel like, and then I have email addresses, I will email everybody, and if there's anything specific you'd like to talk more about, please let us know so we can address that, because it sounds like there's some areas that people would like more information on.
So those of you that are still, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
Those of you that are still here, I know this had a funny circuit around. If you didn't sign on to mailing this, please do, with your name and contact information. And there are sheets that we handed out. It's different from the survey. We were really trying to understand what questions you still have. And you're thinking about white sheets. So those white sheets would come up here. Survey goes into the box, and we are interested in making sure that we've got your email address.
Thank you everybody for taking the time to come. We really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.